What's up everyone, John Rettinger from TechnoBuffalo here with a full review for you of the AT&T touchscreen QWERTY hybrid Blackberry Torch. So I begin all my phone reviews with talking about call quality. If the phone doesn't make good phone calls, it's not going to be much use to you. It doesn't matter how good email or web browsing is going to be. Phone calls really are paramount to the success of a device. On a lot of the other AT&T phones I've tested, there's really been no call quality issues. They've been crystal clear, no white noise or tinny sound on either end. The Blackberry Torch did have a bit of popping and cracking, and there was definitely some tinny sounds on my end and the caller's other side of it. Something to keep in mind. The in-call volume, while definitely loud, was not as loud as other phones I've tested in the past. So if you're a bit hard of hearing or you like just loud in-calls, you're definitely going to want to try this out before you pick it up. Speakerphone, however, was definitely quite loud and really usable in the car. On the flip side of the coin, the reception that this thing pulls in is fantastic. On other devices, other AT&T devices, where I usually got maybe 2 bars of 3G in those fringe service areas, this was pulling in almost 4 or 5 bars of 3G. So if you're in sort of an outskirt 3G area, it's definitely going to be a phone you're going to want to check out. It's going to get probably the best reception of any AT&T phone out there right now. So let's jump into the review of the phone. I'm not going to go over every feature of OS 6, which is what the Blackberry Torch is running. I did a whole video sort of recapping all those features. But let's talk about what's most important. And this is a Blackberry. Certainly it has a touchscreen, but what makes a Blackberry is this guy, the full slide-out keyboard. Very reminiscent of what we've seen on the Bold devices. And this is a fantastic typing experience. I used to be a pretty dedicated Blackberry user, and I'd forgotten how much I really like having a full QWERTY keyboard. This is definitely one of the best. If you've used a Bold in the past, you'll definitely be familiar. There's not as much throw on the keys as there are on some other devices. That's because it's a slider and the keyboard's got to be a bit thinner to slide in and out. However, it is very good and works really well. And I got used to it very quickly. I found myself actually missing a QWERTY keyboard. Now that's not the only way to input text here on the Blackberry. You have an on-screen keyboard as well, which works pretty decently, and Blackberry has definitely updated their autocorrection as well, so that's something nice to see if you do a lot of texting or emailing. So some of the features that I really like about the Torch is the built-in integration with social media. So there's now, you can see I've got a built-in Twitter app, Facebook, and MySpace are already built into the device. Notice across here is notifications. So I've got 107 unread emails, 1 voicemail. That little orange icon is social media and RSS feeds and such. And then Facebook. So you really could pull in all of this notification information. You go and tap that top part. I've got some personal stuff in there, so I'm not going to show it. But you get sort of a full list of all notifications. Actually, I'll just block out the bottom and I'll show you here. You can see it sort of all comes up very nicely. You can see pretty easily everything that you have going on. Tap it to get rid of it. Really just works perfectly, and it's a great way for notifications. I thought that RIM really needed their notification system other than a blinking LED or an envelope that they had on previous devices, and this works very well. Certainly on par with the Android tab that you pull down from the top or notifications window. A great way to switch profiles as well, makes it nice and easy. Go ahead and tap that, select what you'd like, and you get right to your wireless settings by tapping the top part. Choose your network, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all the rest of that stuff are all pretty handy. Now this phone is not without its quirks. Being a first generation OS 6 device, things don't always work very well. You can resize this here with notifications of what it shows. Oftentimes while I was resizing it, I had it freeze on me and it would just go away and I couldn't see any icons. I actually have to pull the battery and restart the device. Now certainly with the software update, I assume this will all be fixed. But it is worthwhile noting that if you are going to use this device, you're going to run into a bit of bugs. Nothing that's going to really hinder your overall usage, but something to be prepared for. And speaking about the notifications here, this is really what makes OS 6 quite nice, or the icons rather, that you can customize what you'd like. So you can view all favorites, you can set whatever favorites you'd like. Media, you can view media on here. We'll talk about media in just a minute. Downloads. There's certainly a new Blackberry application store here, so you can download sort of new applications. Something to keep in mind though, a lot of the applications that are found in the Blackberry app world don't work yet with OS 6, the things that you're used to using. For instance, I've got Google Maps right here. It doesn't work very well. So you may run into a problem of broken apps here with OS 6, sort of as the manufacturers and developers work to update their code. Something to keep in mind. And again, you can resize any way you like. If you want to show 2 rows or 1 row, or remember how you last set it. You can show all of them or show none and have it just sort of hide it, and you can pull it up and show whatever you'd like. I liked 2. I used this as my daily driver for a little over a week, and I really enjoyed it. I found 2 rows of icons with the all was really the best way to go for me. Email is very typical BlackBerry. The menu system is really what you'd expect. Things have just been redone a bit for touch. So if you go into options, you can see now the menu system isn't so listy. You can now actually use your finger and tap what you'd like. Now, if you're not used to using a touchscreen with the BlackBerry, you never have to use a touchscreen at all. There is a 5-way touchpad here, so you can go up, down, left, right, and select it in to do all your navigation. But you'll see that things are pretty different. Go ahead and go to display. Things are now grouped. Go ahead and select whatever you like, and it's now just larger and finger-friendly. So let's jump into the browser a little bit. That's something that's really important to mobile phone users. Something that RIM was really deficient in. They had an awful web browsing experience. So they actually bought a company that makes WebKit-based browsers, and WebKit is the same sort of, let's say, underpinnings that Apple uses in the iPhone and that Google uses in Android. So a really solid web experience. And it's about what you'd expect here. It works very well. Multi-touch enabled, you can pinch and zoom. And actually, web page render times are quicker on the BlackBerry than they are on an iPhone, for example. However, the processor can't always keep up with the render speed of the browser, so you do get a bit of a slower experience. That's pretty reminiscent of the Torch overall. It's limited by the hardware. Its processor clocked at 624 megahertz. Now, processor speed doesn't always mean everything. BlackBerry does a really nice job at memory management. So using things overall, using email and text messaging is going to be very quick and zippy. We really notice the slowness of the processor is going to be in the web browsing when it comes to viewing media as well. It can definitely be a bit choppy. Something to keep in mind. So we'll go ahead and exit out of here. And there is also no support for HTML5 or Flash. It's not really going to be able to view any embedded media or any really embedded content anyway, at least as of yet on the BlackBerry Torch. I'm going to jump over to media here. I mentioned that this is touchscreen enabled, so you can't pinch and zoom your way around. Photos, pinch and zoom. It's got its own built-in YouTube player, which really just launches YouTube mobile in the web browser. That's about all it is. It works well. It's not the best. The screen resolution is not necessarily so high, but it does work very well for viewing web pages and viewing pictures. On the back, speaking of pictures, you have a 5-megapixel camera, which does have a bit of autofocus in it and an LED flash. First time RIM has really shown that they're putting their force behind a decent camera, and it's the best BlackBerry camera that I've seen. Certainly not going to take any Ansel Adams-esque pictures with this. We just want to snap a few shots of you and your friends out of the club. It's going to get the job done. Certainly wouldn't print them out and make them poster size, but for quick phone snapshots, it does work. One problem I did have with the device, oftentimes I had a hard time sliding it up without selecting anything. There isn't really a ledge to slide. You have to actually touch the screen to slide it up. And sometimes I would select applications, or if I slid it up by the bottom, I'd select things with the trackpad. It got to be a bit difficult sometimes, something to keep in mind as well when you're considering the Torch. Sometimes you can use the sides and slide it up. You have to find the way that best works for you, but sometimes I'd find myself inadvertently launching applications. Something to bear in mind. So overall, I was actually very happy with the Torch. I think it's definitely the best BlackBerry currently on the market. I've gone on the record as saying I wasn't the biggest fan of the Storm devices. This does not have the sure press keyboard. It doesn't click. It's a very traditional capacitive touchscreen. You touch it, there's no depressing of the screen at all, just like you find on an Android Palm Pre or an iPhone. It's a very similar experience. And it does work very well. I think RIM is definitely on the right track here with OS 6 and the Torch. I wish it had a bit of a faster processor, and I wish there was support for at least HTML5 content. I think if we sort of saw those two things, the web browsing would be a much better experience, and this would definitely be a better rounded device. Overall, though, I was very happy with it. There was definitely a few shortcomings. On a 1 to 5 scale, I give it a very solid 3 3/4 stars. For email, this is going to be one of the best email experiences you're going to get because it's a BlackBerry and it just works very well. Coming from an iPhone, I really appreciate the email management that you can do on a BlackBerry. It really shows how efficient Apple's email client is. One other last bit of gripe that I had, I use Google Calendars and contacts for syncing back and forth, and there wasn't really a native way to sync here. I actually had to download Google Sync and then sync my contacts and sync my calendar that way. So there's a bit of another step to go, but it will sync with all your Google stuff if that's what you use. So you guys like to hear what you think about the Torch. Do you like it, not like it? As of right now, it's going to set you back $199 on AT&T with a 2-year contract. By the time you watch this video, it very well may be cheaper. So for exclusive content, check me out at Twitter, twitter.com/John4Lakers. And for all your tech news, be sure to check out TechnoBuffalo.com. You can make your own sublog, you can put in your own ad code, make a couple bucks, and talk to users in our built-in social network. I am John Rettinger, and I will see you or talk to you in the next video. Bye-bye.